Welcome back to the podcast. This is your host, Ryan Kennedy, and I'm very excited for today's episode, which is going to be all about air filtration, air purification, essentially cleaning up the air in your home so that you're not breathing in a bunch of particulates and chemicals and other nonsense that is commonly found in our homes. Our homes use a lot of building materials like drywall and paint and laminate flooring or other types of vinyl flooring that is primarily made of toxic chemicals. This stuff is not good for us. And while some of it can be fairly stable, other things outgas. And the chemicals that are in our furniture or our cabinets or our building materials can actually contaminate the air in our homes and cause a lot of ill effects and expose you to some of these chemicals that are not good to be exposed to. So today I'm going to cover some of my favorite strategies and techniques for cleaning the air in your home so you can breathe well, you don't have any deleterious effects, and everyone can be healthier and happier in their living environment. So first things first, every time there's air quality analysis done on the inside of someone's home versus the outside is always better. Almost always, like with the very rare exception of if your neighbor is like doing some construction or they're, paving the roads right out front of your house. Like there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, leave your windows open. And I live in San Diego. I'm very fortunate that I can leave my windows open all year round because it doesn't get crazy cold and doesn't get that crazy hot, even in the peak summer. I understand if you live in a cold environment and it's negative, it's below zero outside, you're not going to be able to leave your windows open. But with those exceptions, any time of the year, you're able to leave your windows open. That is going to be ideal because you're going to get fresh air from outside inside, and it's going to help to dilute any chemicals that are in your indoor environment. So fresh air is always great. And if you want to take that to the next level, just don't spend so much time indoors. If you work from a computer or you take a lot of phone calls for your work, do it outside in your patio or your balcony or your front yard, your backyard, any outdoor space that you have available where you can still do your work, but now you're in, indirect sunlight. So you don't have any fluorescents or LEDs overhead. You're in fresh air and you're able to get outside that indoor environment. It's going to be very beneficial for your health. Next, the other low-hanging fruit when it comes to air purification that I'm a huge fan of are houseplants. Lots of benefits to houseplants because of the energetic qualities they bring. Having living things in your environment is good for us on many levels, that some of which we can't even quantify. But the other factor with houseplants is they've been shown to actually filter the air. And not all of them are created equal. NASA actually did a large study looking at houseplants and which ones were the most effective at filtering out toxic chemicals. And they called it the Clean Air Study. And it identified 18 houseplants that are effective at removing what are commonly referred to as like kind of the notorious household chemicals. Some people call them the notorious three brothers: benzene, formaldehyde, and trichloroethylene. And then there's a few others they tested like xylene and I think ammonia as well. And these are really common in homes, especially those first three. And breathing in higher concentrations is linked to many negative health effects, tons of issues with that. So what I would suggest is getting some houseplants based on this NASA research because they're cheap. They bring some good vibes to the house. I love having houseplants. I've always had a lot of houseplants because I think they just uplift the environment. Air purification aside, they're just nice to have around. And it gives you a sense of responsibility too, because you got to water the plant, take care of the plant. A lot of people rush out to have a kid or have a dog. And I'm always like, dude, if you can't take care of a plant, I wouldn't rush out to tie yourself to some of these other responsibilities and obligations. So that's a good starting place. One of my mentors always told me, it goes plant, pets, parent. That's the progression. And the types of houseplants do matter. Not all of them are created equal. And so the 18 houseplants, I'm going to actually put like a little infographic in this episode that can give you the 18, like from this NASA Clean Air Study. You could also just Google it and find it. But a few of the common ones that you'll find at like Home Depot or a local nursery are date palms. These are indoor palm trees that aren't very big. They're pretty small. They're dwarf palm trees. Boston fern is another one. Those suckers are hard to keep alive. Take my word for it. I've had many over the years and none of them have stayed alive. The spider plant is a great one. I'm a big fan of that. Devil's ivy is a good one. I really like peace lilies. Peace lilies are great for this. English ivy is also really good. There's a couple other varieties of palm trees and a couple other plants in here that are more unique. They're not as commonly found at stores. So I'm not going to rattle off all 18. Those are some of the common ones. And that is going to be a great strategy to help filter the air. Now you got to take care of the plants. You can't just let them die. And you also should provide some fertilizer, make sure that the soil is not getting all, moldy and grimy, because that's another big problem with houseplants. So if you don't care for them right, they can actually do harm, not good. But keep your windows open, get some houseplants. And then the third and final tip here is going to be an air purification system. The reason I've left this for last is because it's not cheap. And while it is an easy solution, you just buy the freaking thing, put it in your house, done deal. Most of them run. The one I recommend runs pretty much maintenance free for years and years. And even after a couple of years, all you got to do is change the filters out. And this is going to be a really good strategy for people that just want something easy. You don't have to worry about watering plants. If you travel a lot, houseplants aren't always the best fit, because then you got to find someone to come water your plants and take care of them if you're gone for weeks or months on end at a time. And the air filtration system I like most is a company whose website is called purewater.com. I don't have any affiliation with this company whatsoever. I've had one of their units for years. I think it's really top notch. The owner/founder of that company, Terry Wright, is extremely knowledgeable about air purification and air filtration systems. And he's put together what I consider to be the best bang for your buck systems that are standalone units. And they have a couple different models you could look through. They range between like $500 and $900, depending on what size you need. And that's based on the square footage of your home. Are you getting one for just your office or just your bedroom? Or is it going to be for the entire living space? So those variables will determine what you need, how many units you might want to purchase. I've always just kind of had one in my room, because indoors, that's where I spend the most of my time, and that's the case for most people. Like, you sleep in your bedroom, that's 8+ hours, assuming you're getting decent sleep. And then for me, I work in different environments, and I try and keep the windows open anyways during the day. So it's not like it's a huge deal to have air purifiers, in my office or in my living room or anything like that, because I don't spend a ton of time there. And even when I do, the window's wide open, I'm getting fresh air straight in. So those are my tips for air purification. I'm happy to share more on this topic, but those are really the low-hanging fruit that people should be mindful of. I hope you found this episode helpful. I hope you share it with a friend, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you found it helpful, please share it along to anyone else you believe it can serve. You can submit your own question to be answered on the show by going to ryankennedyhealth.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review for the show. Your feedback helps to support me on my mission to positively impact as many people as possible with this information. Please note, the information depicted in this episode is purely for informational purposes only. Please consult your healthcare professional before making any changes to your lifestyle or routine.